Okay, so we will start with we flushed a covey of quail under a high bank. Arzu, start reading.
Yes, sir. We flushed a covey of quails under a high clay bank with overhanging brush, and I filmed two as they went out of a sight over the top of the bank. Some of the covey lit in trees, but most of them scattered into brush piles, and it was necessary to jump on the ice-coated moats of
Yes.
brush several times before they would flush, coming out while you were poised
Yes.
un- unsteadily on the icy, springy brush. They made difficult shooting, and I failed to miss five and started back, pleased to have found a covey so close to the house and happy there were so many legs left to find on the another day.
Okay,
At
Arzu.
the
Stop
house,
there.
they
Stop
said
there.
the boy,
So stop. So now we come to know why the father of the young boy was carrying the gun, because he had intentions to hunt down the birds, right? So that is why he took gun along with along with him when he went outside with his dog. So now the first sentence says we flushed a covey of quail. So first of all, you should know that quail is also a breed of bird, like we have sparrows, right? Eagles, different types of birds are there, pigeons. So covey means a group of birds, a collection, a herd of birds, right? So that is called covey, and quail is a type of bird. Now the question arises, what is the meaning of flush? So flush means to uncover, because the birds were hiding, resting somewhere, they were hiding. So in order to hunt down, in order to shoot the birds, the narrator had to uncover them, to make them come out of their hiding place, to make them come out of their resting place. So that is being called as flush, to make the birds come out of their hiding or resting place under a high clay bank with overhanging brush. So now we just did yesterday that a stream was there, a frozen creek was there. So creek means a stream of water. So along the rivers or along the streams, there is a bank present. First of all, let me show you a pic of the bank so that you can realize that what is a bank. Then you will understand better what is the situation that is going on over here. So first of all, let us see what is a bank. I am sharing a picture with you. Can you see this picture? All right. So over here now, if you look at this side, so you can see that a stream is flowing in the middle, and you can see that this area that is present. This it has a lot of height, right? So this area, it is called the bank. So the narrator is saying that it was a high clay bank. So it means that the content over here was muddy, and it was a high clay bank. And the birds were hiding somewhere over here in this position or somewhere over here. So the birds were hiding in some place like this with overhanging brush. Brush means small bushes. So there were small bushes were also present, like they are present over here. Then you can see a lot of leaves and stems and everything is present. So they were hiding among these brushes on a high clay bank. And because the creek was frozen, so the narrator was able to walk along this path. Okay, because it was all frozen, so he was able to walk easily. So when the birds were hitting over here in the brushes, in the small bushes that were present, so he had to jump and make them come out of their hiding places so that he could shoot them. So now I think you have got the idea what the narrator is talking about. Now we will go back to our chapter. Okay. So over here now, if you look, what is happening over here, that when the narrator reached under the high clay bank with overhanging brush, means there were a lot of bushes present over there. I killed two as they went out of sight over the bank. So over the means you could see the bank is at a height, right? So over the bank on the ground they went, flying over the top of the bank. So before they could fly over the top of the bank, let me share it once again so it becomes more clear to you where they went. So basically the narrator must have been standing at this place, right? He was trying to find them over here, they were hidden. So before he could shoot two of them, all of them flew over the bank. So basically they went out of reach of the narrator. So before they went out of reach of the narrator was able to kill two of them. All right. So before by flushing, it means that he was trying to get them out of their hiding places. They must have been hiding somewhere here or there. So when he made them come out, so naturally they flew away from him in order to escape. But before they could escape, he killed two of them over here only. He shot two of them. Now let's go back to the story. So now, where we were, so they flew out of sight over the top of the bank. Some of the kavi lit in the trees. So some of them went in some of the trees that were present, but most of them scattered into the brush piles. So again, most of them got scattered again into the bushes that were present over there. And it was necessary to jump on the ice-coated mounds of brush several times before they would flush. So naturally, all the birds again hid in between the bushes that were present among the ice. So now the narrator was jumping in those bushes so that the birds get scared and they fly out of the of their hiding places, so that they could flush, means so that they come out of their hiding places again, because they flew, they come out, and then they again hid themselves in some other place. So now the narrator went to that place and now he is jumping among those bushes so that the birds can come out again so that he could hunt them. Coming out while you were poised unsteadily on the icy springy brush. So now the narrator is saying that he was standing poised, means prepared for the action unsteadily. Why unsteadily? Because we know that the ground, the surface was very slippery because of the ice and snow that was present there, right? So it was very tough for him to stand steadily. So he was a bit unsteady, slippery. That is why it was difficult for him to hunt also. On the icy springy brush means the bushes that were close to the spring, that they made difficult shooting, and I killed two. So he was having some trouble in hunting and shooting the birds because the ground was very slippery. So, and missed five. So he could only kill two of them and he missed shooting five of them because of the slippery surface that was present near the spring, because of the snow that has covered the surface. And started back pleased to find a kavi so close to the house and happy that there were so many birds left to find on the other day. So naturally, because he had killed two of the birds, so he was happy. And he was also happy that he had found a collection, a herd of birds, a covey of birds so close to his house, so that if the next day he wants to come and hunt the birds again, he can easily come again the next day and again hunt the birds. So he was happy that he had found a covey so close to the house, and he was also happy that so many birds are still left for him to hunt the other day. So he was also happy that a lot of birds are present, so he can keep on hunting them for a large number of days. So every day he can find 2 or 3 birds to hunt and he can eat them. All right. Now, Anirudh, you can start reading.
Good morning, teacher.
Good morning.
At the house, they said the boy had refused to let anyone enter his room. You can't come in, he said. You must not get what I have.
Yes.
I went up to him and found him exactly in the same position I had left him, white faced, but with the tops of his cheeks flushed by the fever, standing still as he had started at the foot of the bed. I
Yes.
took his temperature. What is it? Something like 100. I said. It was 102 and 4 tenths.
Okay, stop.
It was the
Stop there, Anirudh. So now the narrator has reached his house after the hunt. So at the house, they said the boy had refused to let anyone enter his room. So now the members of the house that are present, they are now telling the narrator that the boy did not allow anyone to enter his room. He was all alone in the room. And why? Because he said, "You can't come in, you must not get what I have." So now the boy was trying to be protective of his family members. He was saying that I have got an infection and you should not come closer to me. You should not come close into the room because you will also catch that infection. So in order that you are saved from catching the infection, you should not enter. So he said, you must not get what I have. So you can see that he was showing a lot of bravery in spite of being a small child and being having a serious disease, an epidemic influenza. All right. Then I went up to him and found him exactly in the same position I had left him. So now the narrator is saying that when he went into the room, he found the boy exactly in the same position the narrator left him before going for the hunt. It means that he was looking at the same place, he was in the same position, right? So he did not move an inch. He was exactly in the same place, white faced, but with top of his cheeks flushed with fever because he was having high fever. So flush means red in color. So his cheeks became red in color because of the high fever that he was having. Staring still as he stared at the foot of the bed. So basically, still he was not looking around. His eyes were just fixed at a simple place. So this thing is basically indicating that he was lost in his thoughts. He was thinking about something very hardly, right? Very hard. He was thinking about something. His mind was concentrated at one thing only, and he was staring and thinking about something. And he was not looking around what was happening around. I took his temperature. So now the narrator, his father, is taking the temperature again. What is it? So now the boy is asking, what is the temperature? Something like 100. So now narrator is told the boy that it is something around 100. It was 102 and 4 tenths. So the actual temperature was 102.4. 4 tenths means 0.4. So the temperature, actual temperature the boy had at that time was 102.4. And the narrator is telling the boy that it is something like 100. All right. So basically, he is telling a lie. He is saying that it is something around 100, but actually the temperature is 102.4. And what is the temperature? The doctor has said that if it goes beyond that, then there will be a problem. It was 104. So now the temperature has increased by zero point 0.4. You can see in the morning it was 102 and now it is 102.4. But the narrator is telling a lie to the boy. Okay. Now who is going to read ahead?
Hassan Heather, switch on your camera.
All right. Sneha, you can start. Sneha, did you get the permission? No?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Yes.
It was 102, he said. Who said so? The doctor. Your temperature is all right, I said. It's nothing to worry about. I don't worry, he said. But I can't keep from thinking. Don't think, I said. Just take it easy. I'm taking it easy, he said and looked straight ahead. He was evidently holding tight onto himself about something. Take this with water. Do you think it will do any good? Of course it will. I sat down and opened the pirate book and commenced to read it. But I could see he was not following. So I stopped.
Okay, stop.
About what?
You also stopped there. The narrator
Okay, sir.
stopped and you also stopped. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. So now what is happening? The boy now is saying that it was 102. So he remembers the temperature that the doctor told him in the morning, right? In the morning, the doctor had told him that it was 102. So now when the narrator said that it is something around 100, so the boy is saying it was 102. So the narrator asked that who told you? Who said so? Then the boy replied, the doctor told that it was 102. So now the father is consoling him. Your temperature is all right, I said. It's nothing to worry about. So why do you think the father told a lie to the boy? Basically, in order to protect his son, right? So that he doesn't get scared that he was having such a high temperature. In order to make him feel safe, feel comforted that he was not having a high temperature, that is why the father hid the actual temperature from his son. And he told him, okay, it is not such a high fever, it is just something around 100. That is why now the boy is confirming that the doctor was telling that it was 102. So now the father is saying that your temperature is all right, it's nothing to worry about. I don't worry, he said. So now the boy is saying that I don't worry about it, but I can't keep from thinking. So he's saying that I do not worry, but still I can't take my mind away from it. So I am still thinking about it, but I don't worry about it. Okay, don't think, I said, just take it easy. So now the father is telling that don't think about it also. If you are not worrying, it's good, but don't think about it also. Take it easy. It is nothing to worry about. I am taking it easy, he said. So the boy said that I am taking it easy only. He looked straight ahead. He was evidently holding tight in himself about something. So the narrator is gradually realizing that the boy was holding some secret within himself. He was holding tight onto something and he was not telling the narrator, his father, right? So he was realizing that the boy is having something in his heart, in his mind, but he is not telling me about it and he keeps on thinking about that thing. So that is why the narrator is saying that don't think about anything, you are all right. But you can see that the father is also not asking the boy that what is his problem, right? The boy is also not telling his father and the father is also not asking the boy about what is his actual problem. The father is also realizing that the boy has some trouble and the boy also knows that he is having some trouble, but he is not revealing that to his father. The father now says, take this with water. So he is giving a capsule to him. Do you think
Aryan
it
Tripathi,
will,
why are you smiling?
do you think
Sorry,
it,
sir, I disturbed you.
no problem, sir. Do you think it will do any good? So it over here is for the capsule because the father is saying, take this with water. So the boy is asking his father that, do you think this capsule will do any good? Means it will cure me or not? So the boy is asking such a question. Do you think it will do any good for me? Of course it will. So the father is saying, yes, the capsule is going to cure you. I sat down and opened the pirate book and commenced to read. Commence means he started to read the pirate book again. but I could see he was not following, so I stopped. So now again, the narrator started reading the pirate book, but again he saw that the boy was lost in his own thoughts. He was still not paying any attention like he did in the morning. In the morning also he did not pay any attention, and right now also he was lost in his own thoughts and he was not paying any attention to what was being read. So now the narrator has stopped. All right. Now who is going to read? Okay, Anushka.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Yes.
About what time do you think I am going to die? He asked. What? About how long will it be before I die? You aren't going to die. What's the matter with you? Oh, yes, I am. I heard him say 102. People don't die with a fever of 102. That's a silly way to talk. I know they do. At school in France, the boys told me you can't live with 44 degrees. I have got 102. He had been waiting to die all day ever since 9 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, stop, Anushka. So now we come to know what was in the mind of the boy. All right. So why he was so disturbed from the morning that he was not looking at anything, he was not listening to the story, he was not talking to anyone, he was not allowing anyone to enter his room. So this was all the problem about. Now let's see what happened. There was a misunderstanding over here. So the boy asked his father gradually that about what time do you think I am going to die? So now the boy is asking his father then that when he was going to die. What? So that naturally surprised his father that why is he asking such a question that when I am going to die? So again the boy asked, about how long will it be before I die? So again the boy asked the same question that how much time is it going to take before I die? You aren't going to die. What's the matter with you? So now the father is getting irritated that he is talking about such a thing. So he's saying you aren't going to die. What is the problem with you? Oh, yes, I am. So the boy is very sure that he is going to die. He is saying, oh, yes, I am going to die. I heard him say 102. So the boy is saying that I heard the doctor say that I have 102 temperature. So I am definitely going to die. People don't die with a fever of 102. So now his father is saying, no, people don't die of such a fever. It is just 102. That's a silly way to talk. So his father is saying that it is silly, stupid to talk like this. People do not die with a fever of 102. I know they do. So the boy is very sure that people die with such a high fever. And what is the reason now he is giving? He is saying at school in France, the boys told me you can't live with 44 degrees with a temperature. So now the boy is telling that he had heard from his friends in a school in France that people cannot live with temperatures over 44 degrees Celsius. All right. So basically, right now, the boy was in America. Listen to this very carefully because this is the most important point of the whole story. The boy right now is living in America, but at some time earlier, he must have been living in Europe. So when he was in France, in Europe, the boys had told him that people can't live with temperatures above 44 degrees. And now there is a major difference. In Europe, the temperature scale that they use is degrees Celsius. All right. And in America, the temperature scale that is used to measure body temperature, commonly used, is Fahrenheit. If you are studying science, you know that Celsius and Fahrenheit are two different temperature scales. All right. So in Europe, they usually use the Celsius scale to measure the body temperature, And in America, they use the Fahrenheit scale to measure the body temperature. For example, for different, there are different units to measure distance. For example, 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters, right? So you can say 1,000 meters or you say 1 kilometer. It is going to mean the same thing, right? For example, a mile and a kilometer. So a mile and a kilometer are two different units of length, right? A mile is equal to something around 1.6 kilometers, make a mile. So these are different units of measurements. Okay. So the boy got confused because of it. So in France, the measuring scale of temperature that was used was Celsius. So for Celsius, if you have temperature around 44 degrees Celsius, you are going to die. But in case of Fahrenheit scale, 102 temperature is not that much. So that is why the boy thought that people die at 44 degrees and I am having a temperature of 102 degrees. So the temperature has risen so much that from 144, it has risen to 102. So now I am definitely going to die. I will not be able to live anymore. So he was very sure that I am going to die. He said, I have got 102 and my friends, my classmates had told me that people die at 44. So now the narrator realized that what was the problem the boy was having. So now the narrator realized that he had been waiting to die all day. So the entire day from morning to up till this time, the boy was waiting that he is going to die. Ever since 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay. Now who is going to read further? Akshit. Okay, Akshit, you can start.
Sure, Gupta, come in the frame.
Akshit, not able to unmute? Okay, start.
Sir, I'm audible.
Yes, start.
He had been waiting to die all day, ever since 9 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
You poor sketch. I said, poor old sketch.
Yes.
It's like miles and kilometers.
Yes.
You aren't going to
Die.
That's a different thermometer. On that thermometer, 37 is normal.
On this time? Yes.
It's 98.
Yes.
Are you sure? Absolutely. I said, it's like miles and kilometers. We made when we do 70 in the car.
Yes.
Oh, he said. But his gaze at the foot of the bed relaxed slowly. The hold over himself relaxed too. Finally, and the next day, it was very flat.
Yes.
And he cried very easily at little things that were of no importance.
Okay, so this completes a story. So now the narrator is saying, poor old Chaz. So now the narrator has realized what was the problem with the boy. Poor old Chaz. It's like miles and kilometers. So now the narrator is trying to explain him the difference of the two temperature scales that are present. So the narrator is saying just like miles and kilometers are two different units of measuring distances. It is the same in this case also. You are not going to die. That's a different thermometer. So the thermometer that says that at 44 degrees you are going to die, it is a totally different thermometer. On that thermometer, 37 is normal. All right. So on that thermometer, if you have 37 degrees of temperature, it is considered normal. On this kind, it's 98. In the Fahrenheit scale, the normal body temperature is considered to be 98 degrees. And on the Celsius scale, the normal temperature is considered to be 37 degrees. So now the father is explaining his boy that his son that on that temperature scale, 37 degrees is normal, and on this scale, 98 degrees is normal. So you are basically just 4 degrees above the normal, because it is 98 and you have 102. So according to the Celsius scale also, he was just at 41, right? 37 plus 4 would mean he was just around 41 degrees. So the father is saying that your temperature is normal, you are not going to die. And he thought that he should have been less than 44, and he is 102. So basically, he is 50, 60 degrees more than what is actual normal. So now the father is explaining him the difference between the two scales that are being used. Over here in India also, we measure the body temperature in Fahrenheit scale only, right? Because we converse in our home, right? That you have 100 degree, you have 102 degree. So in India also, we use this scale only, the Fahrenheit scale, which has 98 as the normal body temperature. But in Europe, they use the Celsius scale, where 37 degrees is the normal temperature. And over here, if you see for weather, when we say that how much cold or how much hot it is outside, for that we use the Celsius scale only. If you see, we say that it is 2 degrees Celsius when it is very cold, right? We get in the newspaper that the winters are very cold this time, it is 2 degrees Celsius. So at that time, when we measure the weather conditions over here in India, then we consider the Celsius scale. When we say in the summers it is very hot, it is 45 degrees, then we are basically saying it is 45 degrees Celsius, not 45 degrees Fahrenheit. We are saying it is 45 degrees Celsius outside. But when we measure our body temperature, then we measure it according to the Fahrenheit scale. So over here, we use different scale for different things. Over here, we use Celsius for the atmospheric temperature and Fahrenheit scale for the body temperature. In America, they use both for body temperature as well as for the weather. They use the Fahrenheit scale. And in Europe, they usually use the Celsius scale. So there is a difference. People tend to use different things at different places. This is a cultural difference, right? So now the boy is saying, are you sure? So when his father has told him that these are two different temperature scales, so one has 37 as normal and one has 98 as normal. So now the boy is asking that, are you sure? Absolutely, I said. So the father is giving him surety that absolutely, I am confirmed. I said it is like miles and kilometers when we do 70 in the car. So basically now the father is saying that like we travel in the car, then when we travel some distance, we try to convert the distance into miles and kilometers. So the father and the son must be doing this thing. They must have been having a habit that they would convert the distance into miles and kilometers to see that how much miles they have traveled and how many kilometers they have traveled. So now the father is saying, just like we convert distance into miles and kilometers, in the same way, we can measure temperature also in Fahrenheit and Celsius scales. Oh, so now the boy realized that what was actually happening. So now finally he has realized, he said, oh. So this gives us the indication that now the boy has got the idea that what was the actual thing going on. But his gaze at the foot of the bed relaxed slowly. So now he was getting a control over himself. Now he was getting back to his senses that what was actually happening. The hold over himself relaxed too. So now he started looking around, getting relaxed. Otherwise, he was just lying in one position, staring at a single place, and was lost in his thoughts. But now his hold over himself was relaxing, and now he started looking around, moving around. Finally, and the next day it was very slack. So now he was getting better. So now he started talking to people, and his disease was also recovering. So he was getting cured also. and he cried very easily at little things that were of no importance. So now, like all children, they start shouting over little things, over silly things. So this boy also started to shout and cry over little things that were of no importance. So basically, the narrator is pointing out that he came back to his normal self. When he realized that he was not going to die, he came back to his normal self, and now he was behaving like all the children should behave. All right. So this was our story. So understood the story? What was happening? Yes. So basically you can see that the boy was a brave person. You have to admit it, because the fear of death is a very strong fear, right? Individuals, people are not able to manage it. But this boy was thinking that he is surely going to die, but then also he was facing it all alone. Though it turned out to be false in the end, his fear was not true, it was false, but he believed it to be true, and he was facing the fear of death alone, right? He was not sharing it with his members of his family. So it was quite brave of him to do so. And what prevented him from doing so? His sense of masculinity. All right, because in our society, what is prevalent is that men and boys should not be scared of anything. They should not fear anything. They should be brave. It is told to children from a young age only that, oh, you are a boy, you should not cry, you are crying like a girl. We tend to do all these things. And these things are done in every culture. It is something that is very common and prevalent in every country, in every culture, that it is taught from a young age only that boys should be strong, they should not be scared, they should not fear anything, they should not cry. So the boy was facing it all alone because he did not want to show that he was scared, he was going to die, and he is scared of dying. So he did not want to show that weak side of his. So he was trying to be all brave, and he was trying to face this fear of death all alone. And you can see his father was also not asking him anything. So there was a lot of lack of communication between the father and the son, right? So for girls, they usually communicate everything with their parents. But see, father and son, they were not communicating a lot also. The father was seeing that his son was in trouble, he was facing some problem, and he could see that he was holding something within himself from the morning. He had some issue and that he was not sharing, but the father was not asking also. He knew, but he was not asking. So this is a typical male tendency, all right, that we don't share our problems with anyone. If the father of the, you can also see that if your father has some problem, he comes into the house, he does not share it with anyone. He keeps it to himself only. If you have some problem, your mother has some problem, they immediately tell, share, so that it could be resolved. But this is a typical male tendency that they don't share their problems. They keep it to themselves, right? So this is what the father and son are also doing. And another important thing you can see is that the boy was not allowing anyone to enter the room. And he was saying that you will catch infection. You should not get what I have. So basically, he was stopping his mother and other persons that were present, but he allowed his father to enter the room. So it shows that he considered his father to be strong enough, that his father is not going to catch infection so easily. So he allowed his father to enter the room, and he did not say that you are also going to catch infection, but he must have prevented his mother from coming into the room. So this also points out that there is an element of masculinity bias present over here. that a man is strong enough and he is not going to catch infection so easily, but the children and the women that are present in the house, they can catch infection easily. So he was not allowing any other person, not even his mother, to enter the room, because he thought that women are generally weak and they can catch infection. Understanding all these things. So he was actually a brave boy. He was facing the fear of death alone. And there were some shortcomings also present between the father and the son duo, right? That the boy was not able to share because of the societal pressure that is put on the male children at such a young age only. That, okay, you are not, you should not be scared, you should not cry, you should be brave, you are strong, right? All these things are done. So it gets into the mind and how it plays. You can see that how these things occur then in real life. When you feed such thing to children at such a young age, then this is the result that you get. Understood? All right. Now, if you have some doubts, you can